God bless everybody today. It's May 3rd, 2022. I was reading through the book of Daniel, and I believe I found I'll say it, massive connection to what I've already been talking about and how I believe Daniel 8 is going to affect us by the end of this year. I've been talking about this war between Turkey and Iran, and how when the Kurds join Persia, or the Medes join Persia or Iran, we would see Turkey come over and crush them. And so I want to show you a connection I think is extremely important to this conversation. It's something I just found, so I'm trying to inform you that I found this, and I believe it's a connection that really matters. So in Daniel 8, it says something extremely important. So I talk about Daniel 1 to 10 and how it talks about this dream that Daniel has about the Medes joining the Persians, and that when this occurs and they end up around Shush, Iran, that the Grecian goat or turkey would come over and crush them, trample them, and smash both these nations. And so I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So in Daniel 19 it says, look, I'm going to show you the interpretation of this dream. He says, and he said, behold, I will make thee known what shall be in the last end of the indignation. For the time appointed to the end shall be. Okay, he's talking about the very end of time, right before the Lord comes back at the last week in Jacob's trouble, okay? And so look at how he's stating this. The ram which you saw had two horns are the kings of Media, or the Kurds. If you go back in history, you can go look this up all day long. So in Daniel 8, once the Kurds join Iran, Turkey will come over and crush them. But he will die, as indicated here in verse 22. This goat's horn will be broken. He'll be destroyed. From that, 4 nations or 4 regions will stand up. Think of Alexander the Great and the 4 regions that popped up. 4 kingdoms shall stand up, but not of their own power. And in a latter time, a king of fierce countenance will stand up and overthrow the other 3 regions. And so this is Antichrist. So look at that transition in Daniel 8:19 to 24 or 5. You're seeing a potential war here with the Medes and the Iranian. Once they join, another king from Grecia or Turkey will come over and crush them, but he will also be destroyed. And I've tried to explain this for some time. I believe the White Horseman is Erdogan of Turkey, and that he's the first seal, and that he will bring a quarter of the world under duress of war in the Middle East. He'll also bring on famine, desolation of markets, and all the other seals. He takes peace from the earth. You see famine, economic collapse. You see disease, and I believe we have a massive disease event coming up. The 4th seal is the Black Horseman, or disease. The 5th horseman is the martyrs, asking, when are you going to avenge us for all this devastation that this first horseman has caused, or Erdogan, because now he's a quarter of the way through the Middle East, and he's attacking Israel. And so Daniel 8 occurs. Iran falls. Once the Medes join them, they end up in Egypt. They're pulled back to Israel. They attack, and they're devastated. All the nations that go against Israel are devastated, except for the 6 that are left behind. At least that's what it says. Then we see the devastation of Gog and these armies, because Daniel 8 turns into Ezekiel 38 and 39, and 10 full nations attack Israel. Then they're devastated on the 6th seal in 616 by the wrath of the Lamb or the wrath of the Son. Then we have a 7-month burial and 7 years of burning weapons, which moves us into the tribulation period. Now look at Daniel 11. So I believe this is where the connection is. So, I've been talking about this Iranian war that's going to destroy this nation. Turkey's going to come over and crush them once the Medes join them by the end of this year or within the next year. I've been talking about this war coming up for a while. But I show you on my paradigm where I believe that this will happen in the fall of this year or by the end of this year. And I think it's extremely important that if you look at this to me is a massive acknowledgement that this is possibly going to happen. Now, I can't say for sure because I can't see in time. I can't see the future, but I can look at the Bible and I can match it up with what might be coming. So look at Daniel 11, 1 to 4, pretty much, is what we're going to be looking at here. The first year of Darius the Mede. Okay, we're in Daniel 11. Okay, we're getting close to Antichrist here. We're talking about Darius the Mede, the Kurds, and how he will confirm and strengthen him, and that 3 kings of Persia will stand up, and a 4th one at the end will be far richer and stronger than the other 3, and that he will these 3 or 4 kings will stir up the realm of Grecia or Turkey. And that they will basically do what they want. But when he stands up, this 4th king, he will be broken and divided into the 4 winds of heaven. Now, when do the 4 winds of heaven occur? We see him held in the 7th seal, but we see him released on the 6th trumpet. So we need to watch that because it's important that he's holding them during Revelation 7 when he's selecting the 144,000 between the 6th seal and the 7th seal, probably during that half an hour of silence, and that he's talking about the 4 winds here and how these rulers will basically be destroyed and broken, and that they'll be delivered into the 4 winds. And so we're talking about in the 7th seal, in the birth pains and sorrows, because we haven't started into the tribulation period. That doesn't happen until the signing of the covenant of death or the treaty with the nations, the 7-year treaty. And that occurs once Antichrist is on the ground after the 6th trumpet has sounded. You have the bottomless pit open on the 5th. The 6th trumpet sounds. You have the false prophet and the Antichrist come up. And on the 7th trumpet, the Lord Jesus comes back. And so the 4 winds are being held on the 7th seal, but they're released on the 6th trumpet. Because at that moment, Satan is being thrown from heaven onto the ground for the 1260 days, which alludes to the time of the signing of the treaty through the time of abomination. And that we would see 4 kings of Persia arise at the very end and wreak havoc on Grecia or Turkey. Why is that important? Well, I'm going to show you right now. So the king of Grecia is Erdogan from Turkey. Okay? Greece was moved to Constantinople, Turkey during the Roman era, and once it was moved there, it was divided into the Western and Eastern Roman Empire, which was then removed and turned into the Ottoman Empire, which was then supposedly destroyed in World War I. But it's the 7th beast. It's the 7th kingdom that the Jews have had to endure before the 8th kingdom, which is the beast kingdom. And so I keep saying the Ottoman Empire has not been vanquished. And what's really interesting is Erdogan, which was elected in 2002 as president, took office actually in 2003, but 2002 is when he was elected. From that time, we have had 4 Iranian presidents, with a new one this year. Okay? And so I think that's extremely important, that 4 Iranian presidents have arisen in the time that this man has been in office, at the end of time, in the last week of Jacob's trouble, right before Erdogan is getting ready to genocide the Kurds, move them down towards Iran between Baghdad and Shush. And once these 2 nations, Iran which is Persia, and the Medes and the Kurds align, that we're going to see Turkey crush this nation. And so that would then end the 4th king during the time Erdogan has been in office. So since Erdogan has been in office, we go to this president here. In 2002 is when Erdogan became the president of Turkey. Okay, he's the leader of Turkey. He's been there since. He's not going anywhere because he's the White Horseman. He's going to be the one that takes 10 full nations into Israel by the end of 23. But he's going to do Daniel 8 first. And so these 3 kings have always had proxy wars against Greece. It's been continuous. They've constantly been attacking Greece since Erdogan's been there. But now we have a 4th president, which Daniel 11 clearly states we will. And then when that occurs, he will be destroyed. And if you go from Daniel 8 to Ezekiel 38 and 39, right after he talks about the chief prince of Gog and Magog, which is in Turkey, you see that first nation that's listed, and that's Persia. So we start talking about the 10 nations that are starting to form. Once Iran falls, Erdogan will rebuild the caliphate against the Jews and the Christians. He will become the new Ottoman Empire, or new Ottoman Emperor, and rebuild the new Ottoman Empire. And he's going to do this. If you look at Russia, he wants to rebuild the communist footprint of the old USSR. But, Erdogan is going to rebuild the old footprint of the Ottoman Empire. And so here is your Ottoman Empire map that's going to be rebuilt. And I want you to look at this real close, okay? This is what's forming right now. This is the old footprint of Alexander the Great. Erdogan's been telling you for some time he wants to redo this. But look at this. This doesn't have anything to do with Russia. It's not Rosh, chief prince. You know, the chief prince or Rosh, and even if you use Rosh, it means chief prince in Hebrew, and so it's nothing to do with Russia. I keep telling you, even if you go polar north from Jerusalem, it goes right through Ankara, Turkey. Everything has to do with the Ottoman Empire and how he's going to rebuild the Ottoman Empire soon. But look at this footprint. You've got Turkey. You've got Armenia and Azerbaijan. Wow, I've been talking about that one. The Turkestan groups. Iran, Afghanistan, those three nations in the northern Africas. You got Syria and Iraq over here. Look at that footprint. Where is Turkey right now? He's in Afghanistan. He's in Azerbaijan and Armenia. He's in Africa. He's over here in Syria and Iraq. And he's surrounded Iran right now. And if he comes down from Azerbaijan, which he'll actually own a little more of this up in here, but it's not Russia. If he comes from here down to Tehran, it's 50 miles from the coast. So I think this is extremely important. And if you go to Daniel 8, and everybody says, well, Daniel 8 happened in the past. Yes, it did. You're right. During Alexander the Great. And we saw a defiling of the temple back in the history books. Yes, you are right. You can look at that all day long. He tells you that you're going to see it happen again in the end. And so you need to look at this because this is extremely important. But I think it's extremely important that if Daniel 11, if he talks about these 4 Iranian kings at the end and the country of Greece or Turkey that's going to smash them, then we're probably talking about Daniel 8, and that's going to lead us into a war against Israel before long. So keep an eye on this one. Keep an eye on Daniel 8, 1 to 10. The interpretation starts in Daniel 8:11 or 8:20. So I'm sorry about that. It's 8:20. I'm sorry, I'm hyper because I think it's really cool that maybe we can understand what Daniel 11's talking about and how we're in Daniel 11 here. We're talking about the 4 kings of Persia at the end and how these 4 kings are going to affect Greece or Turkey and how it's amazing that those kings go from basically the time Erdogan's been in office to the end here. And so I think that matters. God bless everybody. I just wanted to throw this out there. I just found this. Find the open door. Find Jesus. We are down to the wire here, folks. Daniel 8 is going to happen. It's building up this very moment. He unleashed a new attack on the Kurds on April 18th of 2022, the day after Easter. And so we're going to see this ramp up, and we're going to see Erbil fall soon, and we're going to see the Kurds get pushed down towards Baghdad, and they're going to migrate over that western border of Iran, and we're going to see all kinds of geopolitical demonstrations and refugees and all kinds of stuff going on top of what we already got going on out here. It's going to start getting extremely intense. And that's why they call it the birth pains before we get there. And the sorrows, because it's just, you think it's going to get better and then it just gets worse. The contractions just come on, and then you get a little reprieve, and then the contractions get harder. So find the open door. Find Jesus. It's important. God bless everybody. this is getting intense out here, and you need to figure this out, and you need to tell people. Have a great night.